From Field Pass Hockey Southern Command, this is the Inside the SPHL podcast. Here is your host, James Hayes.
Welcome to this week's episode of Inside the SPHL. The season's getting going. We're 2 weeks in. It's been a good one so far. There's not really a clear cut number one. It seems like everybody's playing it rough and tight this season to start out with. That didn't sound right, but this is definitely a hockey podcast. I promise. It's not where that was headed. But anyways, before I get myself in any more trouble, let me just skip all this and let me talk about my guest that I got on this week's show. He's a guy that been around the league for a little while. He is a Newmarket, Ontario native. He played his college hockey at Buffalo State College. He is currently in his sixth professional season and his third with the Quad City Storm. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce you to Taylor Pryce. Taylor, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. How are we?
Good, man. Good. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Pretty good. After 3-3, feeling okay.
Yeah. How are those Sunday games, man? Those are weird games, like Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it's always a bit of a blur. It's you go to sleep, you wake up, and it's hockey. Eat, sleep, hockey. They joke about that growing up, but that's literally our lives on the weekend when it's 3 games in a row.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you guys didn't seem like you were slacking at all. That was a pretty it was a close game, and then the third period happened, and it was no longer close.
Kind of blew up. Yeah, it was trying to keep a hold on it, but it was a bit wild.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was a good one for sure. So, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk about how you got into the game, man. So growing up, just north of Toronto, obviously hockey was in your blood anyway. So you were destined to play it. So, at what age did you really start?
Yeah, well, it helps. Most Canadians are introduced to the game pretty early, and if you take a liking to it, there's tons of options and lots of rinks, and you're never in a bad spot there. So I don't know, I loved it, and I've never known anything but hockey, so played it my whole life. Started when I was 4, maybe house league and select, and then minor hockey all the way up to juniors, college, and now pro.
Nice. Did you ever try out any other sports, like during the summer, or was it hockey through and through?
Hockey in the winters, and then I was lucky enough to grow up with, which we still have, a family cottage. So I was summer sports on the water, skiing, wakeboarding. Never really got into any other league sports like soccer or baseball or any of those summer sports because I was always at the cottage. But obviously, I always took a liking to hockey. So.
Yeah, that sounds like an awesome summer. I wish I'd have grown up with a cottage.
Yeah, it was good. I was spoiled.
So you still go up there and waterboard and all that, or wakeboard? And waterboard's a whole different thing. I'm screwing this up already.
Water, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, when you're a bit younger, you can do all the sports you want, but as you get older, it becomes a little harder on the knees and whatnot. But right. I still get out there from time to time.
Right. You're slowly transitioning into being the boat driver. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Taking over from the old man.
Yeah, that's right. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's the fun part is when you got people on tubes on the back is just trying to sling them off. That's my favorite part of it.
Exactly. It's an art. It's an art that you need to perfect. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
you gotta take some of the boys from the team up there, one of the ones that piss you off during the season, and be like, come on out here, let's
come on down. Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, so you talked about playing juniors, and juniors in Canada is almost a professional league in itself. So where you played for the Pickering Panthers, is that where is that? Is that in Ontario as well?
So yeah, I was lucky enough to stay home for my whole junior career. I played 3 years junior, 2 in Pickering and 1 in North York, which was just north of Toronto, all within about a 45-minute drive of each other. And it's kind of a hotbed of hockey. You hear a lot of guys coming out of southern Ontario. The OJHL, Ontario Junior Hockey League, is the league I played in. And it's a big time feeder league to Division 1 and Division 3 programs.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
So Whenever what made the change to go to the it almost whenever I look at it, it says New York Rangers in my brain. That's where it's going. So,
Totally, totally, yeah.
North York. What led to
NYR.
the was it a trade or just change of scenery?
Um, it was new coach coming to the team. I wanted to be a bit closer to home. I knew that the North York program was on the rise and had potential to be a championship team, and that was kind of last year junior. You want to end on a good note, and you want to be on a team that's going to go deep in playoffs to get you that extra look from D1 and D3 schools. So it
Yeah,
just made sense.
yeah, absolutely. That's yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to give it one more, even in pro levels. I mean, Joe Thornton
Oh,
chased that cup all over the place, right? The last few
absolutely. Yeah,
years. So,
for sure.
how deep did you guys make it in the playoffs that year?
We went to the semifinals and lost to the eventual champs. So it was a bit of a dagger at the time, but looking back, it was a great experience.
Yeah, that one's got a sting too because you feel like if we could have beat them, they were the champs, so we were going to beat
Right?
everybody. So,
Yeah, yeah.
dang
It's a
it.
familiar feeling.
So then after that, you went to Buffalo State College. How'd you end up there? Did they recruit you, or did how'd that
So
all come about?
yeah, I mean, it all happened pretty fast. I was kind of pretty unfamiliar with the schools in general in the States. Like, I didn't grow up planning to go Division 1 or Division 3. But it kind of in the last few months of your junior career, you're like, you know what, I love hockey so much, I want to continue it. But conveniently, we were playing in the second series was against the Buffalo Junior Sabres. So we ended up going down to Buffalo to play against them, and Buffalo State saw me in the playoffs and talked to me after the game and said, "If you haven't committed anywhere, we'd love to have you." And I said, "Well,
Nice,
I'll take a visit, and we'll go from there."
nice. Were you thinking Canadian university hockey? What was your plans? After juniors initially.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I was talking to a few Canadian schools. Um, Financially, it kind of made sense, but at the time, I thought what was best for my hockey career, because I wanted to keep going on the up and up, was to go to a program in the United States. Um, and that was kind of my ultimate decision.
I gotcha. When you
Yeah.
started playing, you had a pretty successful freshman year there. I mean, looking at your stats, you were almost a point per game player. So it seems like
Yeah.
it was an easy transition for you. Is it as easy as it looked on paper? Was the game because
Well,
college hockey doesn't let fighting. You got to wear full cages. I mean, it's a
right.
lot
Yeah.
different in the States.
It's a different game for sure. I think I gotta give a nod to my two line mates. I was playing with the captain, fourth year senior, and a junior transfer who were just like super skilled. And I'll I'll take some credit where credit's due. I think I earned my chance that I got to play on the first line, but it was a huge credit to those guys and what they did.
That's awesome. I mean, I'll pump your tires a little bit there. I mean, if you're playing on the line with a junior and the captain, I mean, you must be doing something right as a freshman.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
that's
guess so.
that's pretty cool. So, I mean, you
Yeah.
pretty much. I mean, it looks to me like your whole career through college was pretty solid, and then you got the C your senior year. Was that the first time
Hmm.
I know you had an A in juniors. Was that the first time you were a captain of a team?
Yeah, that was the first time I was a captain, and I kind of always prided myself on being a quiet leader and just lead by example. And a lot of times at the end of the year, like coaches and teammates alike would say, "Hey, man, you were like a really good leader, and we thought of you as like a captain figure. So like, good job and whatnot." But I never actually had the C. Um, but it got to a point where I was a senior in college, and there was no one else to do the job but me. So
Yeah,
I got to do it. Yeah,
you're taking it, buddy. It's yours. so,
exactly.
so
Yeah.
that's what what's Buffalo State College? What's the barn like that you're playing in? What's that school? Kind of tell me about the atmosphere around that place.
It was okay. It was on the upswing for sure for attendance. It was nice that the arena was actually on campus.
Nice.
Um, but from prior years, it was kind of like a 500 level hockey team, maybe losing seasons. It didn't get as much recognition as maybe the football team or the basketball team, which they had some success. Um, but we kind of put that team on the map, changed the culture, and grew the sport on the campus. So by the time got to my senior year, we were packing that place pretty nicely for playoffs, and just not a huge barn, but good atmosphere for sure.
Bigger than the Coyotes barn in the NHL?
No, surprisingly not.
No.
But that one looks pretty cool, and it's got a sweet name.
Yeah, it does. It's got a great name and everything.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Pierre-Luc Dubois said it's the best ice in the NHL. So
No kidding. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you get these smaller buildings and the ice is going to be good. I mean, you played in Birmingham. That ice was pretty good, probably, huh? I mean, it's
For
just
sure.
it's
Yeah. It's
easier to
keep
maintain.
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For sure.
So, but so that I guess that's one good thing coming out of that whole situation. But back on
Sure.
topic. I went off track there. My bad.
That's okay. That's okay.
So, what'd you study whenever you were at Buffalo State?
Oh, business marketing.
Business marketing. Nice.
Yeah. Nothing too wild, but
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but it's something that you can fall back on eventually. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Have you put it to use yet?
Not yet. I've dabbled in the trades. I have a good friend of mine that is a general contractor, and he bites off a bunch of small jobs in the summer. And I've been working with him during the summers and back to the rink in the winters, and it's a pretty good gig. But we'll see where it takes me in post hockey life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I got a degree that I don't use, so
Yeah,
I'm
there you go.
I'm always interested to see if other people use theirs. So,
Oh, for
but
sure.
obviously, I know you're playing hockey, so I know you're not full time. But yeah, anyways. So after
Right.
that, what were your options coming out of college to go pro? Did you have more than just the SP? Did you have ECHL?
Yeah, I had an ECHL. They give out player tryouts like for 3 games or 5 games. I had one of those, but I was with the Elmira Jackals, I believe, and then they had a coaching change, fired, and whole management changeover right at the end of the year, and then the team ended up folding. So I just never heard back from them, and kind of waited out for some options, but ultimately figured I'd hold out till camps in the fall.
Yeah, there must be something in Elmira. They've had a couple of teams fold, but
Yeah.
they're back this year, I think, in the Fed. I don't
Okay,
know.
are they? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are. I don't know though. Don't make me lie to you. I have a hard enough time keeping track of everything in the SPHL. I don't mess
I
around with
hear
that
ya.
league.
I hear you.
So, pardon me for not knowing the answer to this, but did you start in Pensacola or did you start in Mississippi whenever you got to the SP?
So I had some issues. I can't remember what exactly it was. Something with my P1 visa, like the dates were wrong, so I wasn't able to get down for camp. So I went down to Pensacola like mid-November on a 3-game tryout. Once my visa came through and everything. But at that point, the team was pretty established, and coach was a pretty good guy, but was being honest and said, we got a pretty deep team, and you're a good player, but I'm not going to cut a guy right now just to sign you. I said, I totally understand, but thank you for the opportunity. And then came home, and a week later, Mississippi called. So I said, okay, let's go.
Yeah. So tell me about the difference. So growing up north, I mean, everything's been kind of in the Toronto, Buffalo, New York area, all around that region. That's where you've played hockey, and then all of a sudden you're playing in Florida and Mississippi. I mean, tell me about that difference.
Yeah, no kidding. Aside from the twang on the accents,
Yeah.
yeah, coming out of the rink in shorts and a t-shirt, and maybe going on a beach walk.
Yeah.
Kind of surreal in hockey season.
Right.
Easy for guys to get distracted, but you keep yourself busy, and it's the same old.
Yeah. Did you ever go whenever you were in Mississippi? That was closer up to Memphis, or was that wasn't down in Biloxi, was it? Okay.
No. So we were maybe 20 minutes from that what's that arena? Like Memphis and
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Beale Street.
There you
I
go.
just watched
There you go.
I just watched the Elvis movie too,
That's
and
right. There you go.
it's having flashbacks.
Yeah. So that was where I was headed but I was hoping maybe you'd say that, and I'm glad.
Yeah, yeah.
But so did you get to spend a little bit of time there on, I mean, I
Oh
know
yeah.
hockey season's hardcore, but so
No,
what
it
was,
was like I said, it was 20 minutes away, so it's a
yeah.
quick cab drive down, and yeah, we definitely took advantage of that.
Yeah, that's great. And getting in, really gathering in that Southern culture whenever you head into a town like that too.
Oh,
So,
for sure. A little bit of history.
yeah, yeah. What was
Yeah.
it like? What was it like playing in Mississippi? I like talking to guys that used to play for, a team that doesn't exist anymore. Tell me about. I mean, that was the last year in the league for the River Kings. I mean, what
Yeah,
was
it was.
what was it like?
I was kind of expecting the team to come back. I was pretty disappointed when I heard that they folded. But it was hard to attract fans. I think one night we had flash freezing, and there's like 2 salt trucks for the entire state of Mississippi. So we had about 200 people out to a Tuesday night game or something, and it was just crickets.
Hey,
But it was fun.
200 people though. Whenever it's a flash freeze in the South, that's an impressive. Those are some dedicated hockey fans. Because
Definitely dedicated fans, because yeah, I don't know how they were making it down the road, but they did.
yeah, I've been down here in Alabama for I think the past 7 years now, and it snowed once, and I mean the whole state shut down. And like I don't even
Yeah,
think they have
exactly.
one salt trucks, and so
Yeah,
yeah, it's
pretty
it's
wild.
always cool. It's always cool to see it happen in the South, because it's just not something anybody's used to, and I think everybody appreciates it more. But guys that grow up around snow and all that cold, you just want it to go back away, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, we're
Hey,
totally fine with it.
yeah. I like golfing in December.
Yeah, no kidding.
But your transition from college hockey to pro hockey, was that a tough transition after playing? I mean, did the game change? Like, did you have to change your game, or were you able to pretty much just kind of
I tried
slide
to,
in?
yeah, I try to keep a similar game, always just hard worker, but I guess maybe the opportunity in pro is a little more limited. You can only carry so many guys, and it takes a bit of adversity to make it through when you're maybe the 10th forward or sitting in the stands for a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else to life but hockey. There's no school or anything like that to distract you. So when things are tough, it's definitely tough. But no, as for my personal game, I just try to keep it the same all the time.
Well, that's yeah. I mean, it doesn't look like you had too bad of a rookie season, considering you came in way late. I mean, when we look at the numbers, so
Right.
I mean, I think that's all right. After that, like you said, Mississippi folded. So were you planning to go back? Were you on the protected list that year, and you were slated to go back to Mississippi the following year? Or
So I wasn't on the protected list, but I had a great conversation with the coach and said if you have me back, I'd love to come back, and he was kind of pumped about it. And then obviously
it didn't happen.
that didn't happen. But you mentioned you interviewed Shane Bennett last year. That was the guy I pretty much followed all around the SP, and so he went to Fayetteville. He went to Fayetteville the next season, and he called me up one day and he said, like, where are you going? Like, what are you doing? I said, I have no idea. He said, why don't you come down to Fayetteville? I said, okay, what's the coach's number? And ended up there.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. He so I didn't realize that you played with him there. So yeah, if I did better research, if I was better at my job, I'd know all these things.
That's okay. We're learning here. We're learning.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So what was Fayetteville? Fayetteville, I've spent some time in Fayetteville doing stuff around Fort Bragg and whatnot. I mean, what was that town like to you? I mean, it's a different atmosphere, right?
Totally different atmosphere. It's kind of cool military town. Gives you an appreciation for all that they do. And being able to practice on the actual base, like going through like border security basically to get onto the base was pretty cool. But they do a good job of representing and appreciating those veterans and whatnot.
Yeah, and they have a pretty passionate fan base behind the Marksmen, and I'm going dating back to the Fire Ants and stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely.
So then in 1920, did Shane Bennett sign with the Storm, and so then he called you up and said, "Hey, you should come up here and play with Quad City"? Is that how that went down?
Same thing happened again. He said, "Hey, Pryce, where are you going?" I said, "I'm not going back to Fayetteville. So where are we going?" So I think it was between that and Evansville. Coach was calling me too. But once I talked to Chesney, it was just kind of a gut decision. It just felt right, so just went with it.
Yeah. Quad Cities, it seems like, I mean, it's still a fairly new franchise, and it just every year consistently getting better. And I mean, you've been a huge part of that, and Bennett, but not anymore, because he didn't give you a call this year. So how'd you know where to go? No,
yeah, exactly. Right.
But
I just showed up. I didn't give him options.
You're just like, "Hey, I'm here. Where's Shane at?"
Yeah, exactly. Oh, he's not coming this year?
Yeah. Like, dang it. That's why my phone didn't ring.
Yeah, exactly.
But so tell me about that first year in Quad City then. I mean, that you've kind of gotten, you're kind of familiar with the SPHL. You've played in a couple of markets, and then you jump into another team and instantly entered into one of the bigger rivalries, I think, in the SPHL with Peoria.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, it was a pretty clear-cut rivalry right from the get-go. I was made aware of that for sure. But yeah, it's funny how it was kind of my third go around with a new team, starting from the bottom, see where I can take it, and I just had a positive outlook on it and say, you know what, whatever happens, happens, and just wanted to contribute and help the team win, and ended up being a leader and a core guy to this group, and I've been happy to be here ever since.
Yeah,
Really,
they decided they liked you and they asked you to stick around. That's always nice, right?
It is nice. A little recognition is always nice.
For sure. And then so in that first year with Quad City, I mean, you had an awesome year, personal year, putting up you had 15 goals, 16 assists, 31 points. That's a great year in the SP. And then you even also went up and played in Wichita in the ECHL for a couple of games. How was that experience, going and playing in the coast for a little bit?
Oh, that was all time. That was definitely a huge milestone and accomplishment that I wanted to do on a personal level, is to get some coast games and show that I can play there. If I was 6 years younger, I'd probably still want to be pursuing that dream, but I'm comfortable in Quad City, and they've been so good to me, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, there's a certain point I've noticed when you talk to a lot of guys where they're just you just become content and happy with what you have and being able to play every day or every weekend. So
for sure.
So yeah. So speaking of being able to play, after that first year in Quad City, all hell broke loose. Well, actually, all hell broke loose that year
in March. Yeah,
and,
before the end of that season.
Yeah, shut the season down, and then Quad City didn't play the next year, and you among many players within the ECHL and the SPHL were homeless. So tell me about that.
It was a terrible time, honestly. I mean, I don't even know where to start with that, but I kind of felt like Quad City would become my home, and just like that, it was taken away. And then not being able to play, I just felt like I couldn't take a full year off and not play the game. So I decided to go down to Birmingham, and I actually ended up going. So I went to, crazy story. I went to Wichita's camp for the East Coast because they were still running. And I get there, and my roommate tests positive for COVID. So then I have to go into isolation for 7 days in a hotel, and then the camp was only a week. So like game one was on like the 7th day. So I was still in isolation, and then ended up getting released because they had finalized their roster, and
you didn't even get a shot.
Didn't even get a shot. And then like you said, I was homeless in Wichita, Kansas, or wherever that is, and then had to make a call to Birmingham, and they said, "Yeah, we'll take you."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and you spent a good chunk of the season in Birmingham before heading over to Pensacola. I mean, that was you. You among many other guys had multiple homes that year, and So I'm going to try to ask you about your time in each place. I mean, so tell me about your time with the Bulls there in Pelham. I mean, that obviously that team struggled, but there was a ton of talent on that team that year, including yourself. And
tons of talent around the league. Honestly, it was just every team was stacked, in my opinion, and it was a good time. It was unfortunate during the COVID times that we were so restricted with our ability to explore and go to different places. So talking with the guys that had been in Birmingham for a while, like they were able to tell us more about the place and all that it offered. But it was just too bad that we didn't get to experience more. But I was glad I did it. As weird as it was putting on those other jerseys, knowing that like once this is back to normal, I'll be in Quad City type thing.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did it. It was fun.
So after that, you went to Pensacola, and you'd already spent some time in Pensacola, that brief stint, and then you ended the season back in Alabama with the Havoc.
Yeah.
In what all the Huntsville fans like to say, their big brother to the Bulls. So how was it playing for Big Brother?
It was pretty cool. They run a pretty good program over there, and I learned quite a bit from how they operate, and good group of guys. But again, happy to be back in Quad City for sure.
Absolutely. I want to jump back to Pensacola real brief. What was it like playing on a team in Pensacola that had so many of your teammates were your rival in Peoria, every year before that and after that? I mean, that had to have been a different experience, right?
It was totally weird going into the dressing room that first day. I'm like, okay, what is going to happen here? And and I was shaking some hands, saying hi to guys. I think it was Ernst comes up to me, shakes my hand, he says, "We know who we are." It was freaking hilarious. He's a character. We had a good time, but you love to hate him.
Right, exactly. You got to, right? So last year came back, you got to go back home and in Quad City, and it was Quad City's best season to this point, going to the playoffs. And I mean, what a season Quad City had last year. It was up and down. I mean, call-ups galore at times. I think Bailey Birkin spent 50% of the time up in the coast and 50% in Quad City. And I mean,
it was a wild year. Year.
But I mean, you guys made it to the playoffs, and I know. I mean, what did that mean for you guys to when you clinched that playoff spot? How did that feel for you guys, and what that meant to the fans? I mean, I know the fans were pumped about it too.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's just a nod to all the hard work we've put in. A lot of guys got called up, and that was tough, like losing those guys. But we made it through those dark days of short lineups and short practices because we're low on numbers. But when we got some of those guys back and made a run, it was great.
Yeah, tell me about that playoff series against the team that you see almost all the time. I mean, the way that the schedule was set last year too. I mean, it was Vermilion County, Peoria, and Evansville with an emphasis on Peoria, and then you had to go play them in the playoffs. I mean, tell me about that.
Yeah, it's like as if you didn't play them enough times in the season, right? It's kind of a whirlwind, right? It's like it's so quick. Just 3 games and it's done, right? You almost feel like you wish it was a 7-game series, so you think you get the better of them. But it's just part of the learning curve and building towards something that's bigger. I think a friend on the team kind of described it as like we'd be like almost lucky catching lightning in a bottle, like just a one-off year if we won it. But this kind of proves that we're kind of building towards something bigger.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the second time that you lost in the playoffs to the team that went on to win it all. Not to bring up old wounds.
Exactly. Like I said, familiar feeling. Yeah.
And then this year we're back at it, and you guys opened up the weekend, and it was an awesome opening weekend for you guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know I'm on all these Facebook pages, and I know the Quad City fans were loving every minute of it because they were rubbing it in the Peoria fans' faces. I mean, tell me about opening weekend, finally getting back to hockey. How does that feel when you finally get back out there on the ice after an off season for a game, not practice?
Oh, it's definitely a long time coming, right? Like it's such a long off season, and it's such a quick start with camp only being a week long essentially. Um, but a couple new pieces fit in great, and we're back to work. I think it shows that the guys went away for the summer and worked hard, and it's showing now. Right?
Yeah. What do you credit? What else do you credit that? I mean, sweeping the defending champs, especially on banner raising night, while they're wearing those jerseys that I still say are probably the weirdest jerseys I've ever seen anybody wear, with everybody's faces on them. But we don't have to get into that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
what was that like? The team that knocked you out last year, you got to beat them on their celebration night. I mean, that had to have been, a special feeling. Not trying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like our mindset is the past, and let's focus on the future and what's happening now. And I feel like that's going to be a reoccurring theme where they're going to talk about last year and how they beat us and whatnot. But they'll forget that we're living in today, not yesterday.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So, I
Yeah.
mean, looking at this team this year, you got a lot of the same faces, but you're missing a couple of pieces that weren't there. Bennett's not there, Sova's not there this year. I mean,
Yeah.
those guys are, leadership roles on the team, whether they have a letter on their chest or not. And so what's it like? I guess what's the atmosphere coming in, missing a couple of those guys that I feel like we're part of the core to Quad City last year. So how is
I think it just gives those second year guys and some of those other veterans a chance to fill those shoes. You know what I mean? I think all our second year guys have stepped up in a major way. I think in this league and minor pro sports, you got to mature quickly, and you don't get 3 to 5 years to kind of develop into a veteran. I think after your first year, you get 1 year under your belt, and now the expectations are high, and they're even higher here because we have such a deep and strong team, right? So I think guys are realizing that and meeting the expectations.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, you guys are off to a great start this year. I don't really have a whole lot more. You already kind of told me what you do in the off season. What do you do besides going out to the lake and stuff like that at the cottage? What else? What's Taylor Pryce's non-hockey world like when you're not playing it? What do you do?
Oh, that's pretty much it, man. It's up north. I get up there as often as I can. I try to see family. I got a huge family. I got a lot of stepbrothers and sisters that are having kids now. And when I'm not seeing them, I'm maybe on the golf course with the boys, and other than that, my girlfriend's filling out my schedule as fast as she can.
Yeah, that's what they do. They're good at that.
They are good at that. Eh?
Is the girlfriend from back home, or did you find a Quad City girlfriend?
No, the girlfriend's from back home, so she's a local girl, 20 minutes away. So I lucked out. Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get to bring her down to games down here?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. What about the family? The family ever make trips? Does there have a big Price family in the stands? You got your own cheering section?
Oh yeah. They'll make a couple road trips a year usually, which means the world to me. I love the support and love showing them what I do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I don't have anything else. Is there anything that I missed on that you want to touch on?
No, that's it. I appreciate you having me on and talking hockey.
Yeah, man, it was great. I really appreciate it. And man, I wish you the best of luck and the Storm the best of luck the rest of the year. And maybe you guys can keep on taking Peoria down. I know you're going to make more than just Quad City fans happy. Everybody seems to hate Peoria, and I don't know what it is, but hey, it is what it is. And it makes the internet entertaining, at least for me.
Yeah, well, we'll do our job and keep winning, and we'll let the internet take care of itself.
There we go. So, all right. Well, thanks again so much. And like I said, good luck the rest of the season, and maybe we can do this again another time.
Okay, sounds good, James. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Taylor Pryce, the Quad City Storm. He's a great guy. He's always battling it hard out there, and you can always see him in there as part of the action. So I've wanted to get him on since last season. Finally did it this year because it was no fault of his that he didn't come on last year. It was my fault. I just never got around to it. It's tough to try to get everybody you want whenever you only do one episode a week. I guess I might have to go to 5 a week. No, I could never do that. I don't think you guys could listen to me 5 times a week. But yeah. So that's it for the interview portion. We're going to jump into talking about last week's games. Let's start out with since we're talking Quad City. Well, no, I want to get to Quad City a little later because they played a Sunday game. So I want to talk Macon and Roanoke. So they played Friday and Saturday night, and Macon still is a winless team as the end result of that. Roanoke won the first one the Friday night 4-1. Macon got on the board a little bit early there, but then Roanoke scored 4 unanswered, and it was just too much for the Mayhem to come back for. Mac Jansen ended with a 3-point night. They were all assists, but Mac Jansen's a point machine in Roanoke, as we all know, just like Taylor Pryce is, the guy that I just had on the show. So and then Macon, another problem with Macon. Well, another problem. There's a lot of problems with Macon right now. Early in the season, I shouldn't be so mean about it. But when you start out 0-4, there's problems, right? But Macon got in some penalty trouble. They gave up 4 power plays, and Roanoke capitalized on it twice. And you just can't do that. You can't get into that penalty trouble. It's just rough down there. And Roanoke's going to make you pay. Remember, this Roanoke team is hungry. They went to the finals last year. A lot of those guys are on that team again. They know what it feels like to get there, and they want to get back. And you can't give them any more motivation or any extra chances. And that's what happened on Friday night. Saturday night, Roanoke got on the board real quick. And then it went 2-0 real quick like that. And then Eder finally got one scored one for Macon. And then Roanoke ended up scoring 4 goals in that first period, and then they added 2 more in the third period. So again, Roanoke just too much. And but Macon did get a power play goal in that second period. So they're scoring. It's coming around. The team's coming together. And you got to remember with this team, Macon, they're fresh. They're rebuilding essentially again, the brand new coaching staff and everything. But ultimately in the game Saturday night, just the first period ended up being too much, and Roanoke outshot the Mayhem 24-7 in the first, and they ended up outshooting the Mayhem overall 40-29. So it was just too much for Macon to be able to come back from. So a couple of takeaways from that. We'll start with Macon. So they're not looking that hot, as I said, at 0-4. The Nick Niedert era in Macon is not off to the hottest start, but remember, it's 0-4. 0-4 means there's only been 4 games. This is a long season, so no reason to panic just yet. They have the 3rd most goals against in the league and the fewest goals for. So if that can kind of show you where they're at, they only got 6 goals for so far in those first 4 games. Not a good number, but like I said, they're working on it. Their penalty kill, though, talking about how Friday night the penalty kill got them, but that was a rare scenario in the first 4 games because their penalty kill is the best in the league at 80. Let me look. 80. I lost it. Dang it. I was doing so good too. 88.2%. So that's it's not all negative there. They just got a little bit, there's a lot of transactions. If you go on the SPHL transaction board, I don't have them all down because there's a ton of them, but you can see Coach Niedert and that coaching staff is making some changes to the roster, trying to find that right mix, and maybe something will stick, and maybe this weekend they'll end up getting that W. Going to Roanoke, kind of some takeaways. Overall, they're looking pretty good. They're 3-1. They've got off to a good start. That one loss was to Fayetteville. Their special teams could use some work, but they've gotten off to a great start. Raudebusch, through his 2 games, has a 1.5 goals against average and a 960 save percentage. So Raudebusch is looking good. He's played 2 of those games there. Not bad at all. Not bad. They're off to. I imagine that you're probably not going to see a lot of those guys disappointed with the way that season started. I remember to hit the mute button that time whenever I sneeze. So I apologize. Not editing that out though. I like this raw and uncut, unedited stuff. But by the way, I'm sick. I don't know if you guys care, but I am sick as I don't know, sick as a dog seems weird. Dogs aren't all sick, but I'm not feeling that great. So you might have a couple of moments of pause. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see me sneezing off in a certain direction. And I apologize for that. Totally not professional. And if I was better, I would probably edit that out. Which, who knows? Maybe I will. Probably not, though, since I went on this long dialogue about it. Back to Roanoke. I think we were done with them. We were done talking about Roanoke there. Yeah. So, like I said, they're good start. Good start for Roanoke. Not a good start for Macon, but it's a long season, and we'll see where it goes. So, next up, I want to talk about Quad City and Vermilion County. So, Quad City won 5-1 on Friday, and VC won 5-2 on Saturday. And Quad City in the Friday night, they jumped out to a 2-0 lead, and the Bobcats answered back, and they kept the game close. This Bobcat team's not last year's team. I just want you guys to see that they're in these games, they're playing them closer, and so they're very competitive. Quad City ended up scoring 3 unanswered though after the Bobcats got that one, and they just never really looked back. And then ultimately, it looks like a blowout on the score sheet, but Quad City played very well, but Vermilion County played well as well. And that shows the next night, second chance, the Bobcats answered back. And the first period, it was a hard fought battle in the first period. VC had an answer for both times that Quad City got a go ahead goal in that first period. And then in the second period, the Bobcats, something clicked on that team that we hadn't seen yet to this season. And we really hadn't seen that franchise do, even with the roster they had last year, but something clicked and they took control of the game. And it was nice. It was nice to see. I mean, if you're a Quad City fan, or if you were my guest that started this show out with me, it wasn't nice, but from an overall perspective, it's nice to see Vermilion County do that. You know, it was a good deal. Matt O'Shaughnessy, he had a really good game. He had 3 points on the night. He's turning out to be a key factor there in Vermilion County. And then both goaltenders on both sides, you know, Sean Kuhn stopped 41-43 for the Bobcats, and then Kevin Ressup. Screwed that up. I'm going to have to figure out how to say that one the right way. But he stopped 43-47. So that's a lot of shots on there. But so they split that. Let's go some key takeaways. We'll start with Vermilion County. So they had that rough opening weekend, remember, and then they've improved substantially. After that opening weekend, then they went on and played that Tuesday game or Monday game. I'm already forgetting. But against Evansville, and they got the point, took it to overtime, and that's where you could see they were playing a little bit better. And so there's still some work to do, though, but they're already off to a better start than last year. They're at 1-3-1, and if they can fix their special teams issues, they can probably start stringing together some wins. So they're currently in last place in both the penalty kill and the power play. So they got to get the special teams going, and if they can capitalize on these advantages they get, the man advantage, and then they can, you know, negate these penalties that they're taking. They're going to be a team that you should probably look out for. You're not going to sleep on them like I feel you could probably do last year. And Sean Kuhn has been solid in net. He's been very good in net, and especially when he's getting that support that's in front of him. So Vermilion County, like I said, I'm liking their start. I know Bobcat fans are. After last year, it took a while to get that first win, and you got 3 points in the standings already after 2 weeks. So looking better. That's the kind of direction we want to see teams trend in this league. We want a competitive league. You know, only 8 can make it, but you want it to be close at the end. You want nail biters. It makes fun. It makes it more fun. Moving on to Quad City. So even dropping that game Saturday night, the Storm are still sitting in the top spot in the standings. They are currently number 1 at 4-1. The top 2 scorers in the league are Storm players, and Michael Moran, and he's got 8 goals, 8 points, 6 goals, 2 assists. 4 of his points came Sunday when he got his hat trick against Evansville, and he got the credit for the Evansville hat trick the next day. They didn't even give him credit that night, so nobody got to throw their hats on the ice. Bummer, but no, that's looking good. And then Leif Matson also has 8 points. And with 2 goals and 6 assists. So Quad City's looking good. They're off to a really good start. That opening weekend against Peoria, I think, kind of was a statement to the rest of the league that, hey, we're here. We're not pushovers. We are every bit as good as we were last year, if not a little better. And so Quad City early on in the season, they're looking good. We'll get into the Evansville game that they a little bit later on in the podcast, and we'll talk more about that. But yeah, overall, Quad City is probably, I mean, not probably, they are. They're the best team in the league according to the standings at the time, and well deserved. They've had a great start to the season. Next up, let's talk Evansville and Peoria. So Friday, Peoria won 5-3, and Saturday, Peoria won 4-3. Evansville's not off to the greatest start, right? But anyways, so that Friday night game started out with a battle. There was no goals. It got a little choppy when Frederick Wink was called for boarding, and then he ended up getting suspended for that one game. It was either 1 or 2. Again, do your research, James, and you'll have all these answers. But yeah, that's all on that. And then the second period was whenever the goals all started to roll in. 5 goals were scored in the second period. The Rivermen took 3-2 lead into the final period. Hank Sorensen was playing lights out for the Rivermen. He got an assist on each of those goals. Evansville tied the game up right off the bat coming into the third period. They had no worry about them, but Peoria didn't care either, and they answered a few minutes later back to take the lead for the final time. And then friend of the show, J.M. Pietrowski, added an empty net goal, and that was all she wrote. There was a lot of penalties in this game, though. There was both teams had 7 power play opportunities, but only Peoria was able to capitalize on that, and they did it twice. So that was a factor right there. Is Peoria's power play? They won by 2 goals. Without those, if those would have been killed off, would have been a tie game, right? Moving on to Saturday, it was another very gritty game. These two teams, they hate each other. I think these teams in the northern part of the league, in the unofficial northern division, are sick and tired of seeing each other all the time, and they hate each other. That's the way I see. Because you see when these teams are playing each other, there's a lot of grit and hate towards each other. I don't know, they just played a lot different than if you see Peoria play Pensacola or Quad City play Birmingham. It's just different feelings. But anyways, Peoria had a 2-1 lead heading into the third, and then Evansville jumped ahead to a 3-2 lead, and they carried that into the final minutes of the game. And it was looking like Evansville was going to get this one. Not so much. Casey Kolcheski tied things up late. Game went into overtime. And then who other than Alec Hageman would score that overtime winner for the Rivermen? And not to take anything away from Evansville, but Peoria handling business. Evansville's been in a lot of close games. I mean, that we referenced that one against the Bobcats. They won in overtime. So Evansville's their record is not as bad as the team is, I guess is a way to put it. But let's jump on to we'll talk a little bit about Evansville later on. Right now, I want to talk about Peoria. So after they started off 0-2, they bounced back pretty quick with these 2 wins, and that's what you're expecting. They've had defending champs, right? That's what you expect out of them. Their penalty kill has been great. It's the second best in the league. Hageman and Bear have been point per player games, and they're off to, a 500 start, but they showed this second weekend against Evansville that they've got their swagger back. And scoring a late goal to send it into overtime the way they did, that just shows that they're still that veteran team that won't give up, and they don't care. Even early in the season, they don't care what the score is. So that was good there for Peoria. Like I said, we'll talk a little bit about Evansville later on, after we talk about the Evansville and Quad City game that was played on Sunday, a Sunday matinee. Quad City won 8-5. It was the most exciting game all day Sunday. I don't care what you say. I don't care about the football games. This game was exciting. Like I referenced a little bit in when we had Pryce on. It was close. It was all tied up at 1 going into the last minute of the first period. And then Quad City scored 2 goals in 54 seconds. Boom. Just like that in the last minute. That's something impressive. And then Evansville answered back with 2 goals in the second period. And so all of a sudden we got a game, right? This is exciting. And so, you think of third period, here we go. This is going to be nitty gritty. And we know Evansville plays them close. They always play these games tight. But the game got out of hand in the third period, and Quad City scored 3 goals in the first 9 minutes. And Evansville answered back with a couple of their own, and then it was a 1-goal game. And so you're like, okay, here we go. This is what we like to see. And then Evansville late in the game pulled Henry Johnson for the extra attacker. Didn't work out. Cole Golka sunk an empty netter. And then in the final minute was when Moran completed his hat trick that they only gave to him on Monday. They didn't give him that hat trick on Sunday. Unfortunate. But 8th goal of the game. Moran ended up with a 4-point night. Like I referenced a little bit earlier. It was a phenomenal game. I hope you guys watched it. And if you didn't, you got your Hockey TV subscriptions. Your homework is go back and watch that game, because when you look at the score without knowing how the game went, you're going to think it was a beatdown, but it really wasn't. It was just a wild third period, and credit to Quad City. They did handle business. So we already kind of covered Quad City a little bit earlier. Let's talk about Evansville. So they have played more games than everybody else by 1. They played 6 games. They've had a Monday and they've had a Sunday game, and have only managed to get 2 wins out of it all. They're sitting 5th in the league at 2-3-1. Goaltending and defense, I feel like that's the big issue here. They've given up the most goals in the league at 25. Granted, they've played 2 more games than most of the teams, but still, you got to pay attention to these little stats. It's the finer things that you got to notice. They have scored the second most goals in the league at 19, and they just have to get some help on the back end if they want to keep up in this league. The league's starting out and it's tight, right? I led this podcast saying that, but the standings are tight to start the first couple weeks out. Nobody's really kind of clear cut, top number 1. No, I'm not convinced that anybody could be number 1 today. It could be any of really 8 teams. I feel like 8 or 9 teams could probably go out and win it if the championship was played tomorrow. But yeah, so not a whole lot to worry about. And like I said, goaltending, I'm not putting all the blame on Zane Steves. Zane Steves has been playing well. He needs a little bit more support up front, and not so many goals coming, not so many shots coming at him. Get the puck out of the zone and get it out to the other side. Remember, pucks in deep, score goals. That's the plan, right? That's all we got. So, all right, moving on. Friday night, Fayetteville played their only game of the weekend. And so you got Evansville, who's playing, all kinds of games in the first couple of weeks. And then Fayetteville's going to take a night off on week 2. Come on, guys. No, it's just the way the schedule goes. The marksman didn't pick the schedule. So anyways, Knoxville ended up winning that one 5-2. And this one really wasn't even close. I feel like Knoxville just dominated. Brett Outerkirk, who is not an Ice Bear anymore. He got called up, but we'll touch on that in a minute. He had another great game. He scored the first 2 goals to get that thing going. And that's the main reason why former coach former Knoxville Ice Bear head coach Carr ended up calling him up to Norfolk to play for the Admirals. And so that's why, yeah. Anyways, moving on. Knoxville, they dominated this game. Like I said, they went into the third period. They were up 5-1. And Andrew Lane ended up getting another one for the marksman Andrew Lane's the one that finally got the goal for the marksman after they were down 5-0 in the second. And I'm all jacked up here the way I'm doing this. So Andrew Lane got the marksman on the board after being down 5-0 late in the second. But it was just too little too late. Knoxville was already well in control of this one. And then, Fayetteville started out the third period and they got a goal 21 seconds in. But like I said, it was just Knoxville they were rolling. They were just rolling. They were an offensive juggernaut in that game. And I don't think anything was going to stop them. So tough for Fayetteville to have one game on the weekend. Usually if you drop one on Friday night, you can always go, well, at least we can get somebody tomorrow night. We'll leave the weekend on a high note. You don't get to do that when you only play one game unless you win it. But that's obvious. Yes, I am Captain Obvious. You're welcome. So we're not going to talk about we're going to touch on Knoxville a little bit. They had another game against the Bulls, but let's talk Fayetteville. So it was, like I said, it was a tough weekend, kind of a tough start to the season. They've only played 3 games though, and so they're 1-2, sitting in 10th place. 3 games. I mean, how do you really? I mean, everybody else has played at least 4, and I'm judging them, or I guess I'm critiquing them. So, oh, hell, let's do this. So the power play is great. So they're operating at a 50% success rate. Obviously, that is not going to be sustainable. Hey, maybe it will be. I don't know. But the power play is looking really good. They just need to find their stride. That's what's going on. And I think getting some games together might be the key here. They got some games coming up this weekend. One bright thing that I got to say is about Fayetteville. Even though their start to the season hasn't been good, their Twitter game has been on fire. If you are not following the Fayetteville Marksmen on Twitter, you should be. And you should probably follow everybody in the league on Twitter, because Fayetteville takes no prisoners. Whoever's running that social media account is giving me a lot of entertainment. So go check that out. It's good stuff. They are number 1 in the league for Twitter right now. That's the way I'm going to put it. Social media, they are the top of the standings. Maybe that's a new ranking thing I'll do every week, is we'll rank social media. So, but no, you guys would turn it off right away if I did that. But yeah, that's about it for Knoxville and Fayetteville. We'll jump on to Knoxville and Birmingham. Remember, Birmingham had that great opening weekend against the Bobcats. And this game was insane, to say the least. So Knoxville got scored early. The Bulls start off to a slow start again. Knoxville's Andrew Ballant gets a goal in the first 2 minutes of the game. And then penalties just came rushing in from different angles. There's broken, dislocated fingers all over the place. I mean, it was just insane. The Bulls had back-to-back 5-on-3 power plays. So the Bulls obviously were way up in that game after that. No, the Bulls didn't score the Knoxville penalty kill, and Christian Stead said no. So basically it was half of the first period, 10 minutes of penalty time, or power play time, should I say, for the Bulls. I mean, that's unheard of. That's crazy. But the PK was perfect, and the Bulls couldn't get it. And it was not for a lack of trying. The Bulls were firing that puck around. Instead, was just not having it. And then second period, the Bulls got off to a quick start in the second period. This is I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this is a trend with the Bulls. Slow first period start, quick second period start. So things are all tied up. We're looking good. I mean, the Bulls are heavily out shooting Knoxville in this game. And so you feel like the Bulls should have the lead. But then Knoxville answers back with another Andrew Ballant goal. And that's how the second period's going to end, is once again, Knoxville's in the league. Still, Bulls out shooting the hell out of the Ice Bears. Third period came along. Justin McDonald ended up getting a goal to give the Ice Bears an even bigger lead. And I'm going to tell you, Christian Stead, he was a stud. He did, a brick wall. That's the best way to put it out. I mean, 60 of 61 shots were stopped by that man, and the Bulls laid it down. I'm telling you, they were hammering away, but Stead wasn't giving them anything. But the thing about it was the Bulls were pressing, and all it takes is a little mistake the other way, and it's a Ice Bear goal. And I mean, Lots played a good game for Birmingham, but ultimately you can't. I mean, Christian Stead was the man, and it was a great showing. Ballant did end up getting a hat trick in this game. He got an empty net goal, and that's how the game ended 4-1. But it was a exciting game, and it was an incredible goaltending performance, to say the least. So let's talk Knoxville. Let's take some takeaways after this weekend. So the Ice Bears, like I said, the penalty kill is unbelievable right now. And goaltending, I mean, they're in good shape. If they can keep the offense going and keep their goaltending playing that way, look out. They're 3-1 on the season. It's like a 3-way tie between 3 other teams or something like that, but I don't know. One bad thing is losing Outerkirk. He was putting a lot of points up in those first 2 weeks, scoring a lot of goals for the Ice Bears. losing him, that hurts a little bit. But the veteran, Justin McDonald, the guy that all you guys were like, oh, look, Knoxville's signing a Fed player. Oh, look, they're making him a captain. Well, he's producing. So if you were saying that stuff, you got to eat some crow. Don't worry, it's not that bad. I eat it all the time because of all the stupid things I say. But anyways, and Brady Florent, Andrew Ballant, their offense, even without Outerkirk, they're going to be all right. But the one concern with this team is they were just dominated with time of possession. That game against Birmingham was spent in the Knoxville zone. The whole game. Take away that 10 minutes of penalty time in the first period, and it was still basically spent in the Knoxville zone in 5-on-5 hockey. So they're going to want to they're not going to want that to be a trend, being dominated that way, because sometimes you're not going to get those goals to make up for it. But that's pretty much it. Knoxville, like I said, they're looking good. They're off to a great start. Birmingham, we'll talk about them in just a minute. We got to talk about Birmingham playing Huntsville. We're going to jump back in time because we were just talking about Saturday. Now we're going to talk about Friday, when the Bulls went to Huntsville to take on the Havoc. So, this is a rivalry that's probably not quite as heated. I just feel like it's not quite as heated as the Peoria Quad City rivalry, but it's getting there. I feel like Huntsville, I don't know, maybe it is. Maybe I'm just being naive because it's probably the same. It's probably the same. I take that back. See, I'm eating crow right now, right after I told somebody else to eat crow. This is how it works with me. So, like I said, it doesn't taste that bad. So anyways, Huntsville got off fast start. Once again, you can see that trend. And it was 2-0 in favor of the Havoc after one. One of those goals, it was Stefan Bricado took a boarding penalty, and one of those goals was on the power play. And when we look back at this game, we'll circle back to that and bring this up again. But in the second, Jordan Martin was able to cut the lead in half, and we had ourselves a good game. It was a good game, but again, another good goaltender. I don't know if it's Birmingham shot placement. Maybe they're not finding those openings. I don't know, the cracks where they can, because they were firing away at Latinovich. And he just didn't let anything in. And Hayden Stewart, again, played solid in net. And, it was a 2-1 game. It was a close one. But the difference was, like I said, that Bricado penalty. So I have a feeling if Bricado could take that back, he would, because without that penalty and without that power play, the game would have probably went into overtime, because, well, if you just eliminate that moment, and which eliminates that goal, it is a 1-1 game. But you never know how things are going to play out, but that's kind of where I credit that one. But so the Bulls, who got off to that, scoring all kinds of goals, beating on Vermilion County and just making them look really bad, and then they didn't win at all this weekend. So do we have anything to worry about in Birmingham if we're Bulls fans? I don't know. What are the odds you're going to run into two goaltenders that are just going to stonewall you all weekend? I guess the odds are okay, but you running into two hot goalies, probably not. And then, but their high scoring offense that we've seen in week one was basically shut down. They only scored twice after scoring, 12 goals in the first week. And then they scored 2. So something's got to change there. I don't know. I don't know if it's just hot goaltending. I don't know if it's, getting that thing to bounce the right way, those lucky bounces. But nothing to panic if you're a Bulls fan. Nothing to panic about. But there are a few things that they're definitely going to have to work on this week, and you're going to have to score more goals, right? It's pucks in deep, scoring goals. But yeah, that's it. They can control the game. They can control the time of possession. They just got to turn that time of possession into points. We're not going to talk about Huntsville just quite yet, because we're going to talk about the other game Huntsville played on Saturday night against Pensacola, who also decided they were only going to play one game this weekend. Pensacola and Fayetteville taking off week 2. You can't do that, guys. No. Anyways, Pensacola won this one 5-3. It was a very close game through 2. It was 1-1 coming out of the first and 3-3 coming out of the second. And then a early third period power play proved to be the real difference in this one. Cole Reginato was sent to the box for roughing, and Jan Salak made the Havoc pay, netting a power play goal. Garrett Milan ended up adding another one late in the period, and the Havoc are in the losing column for the first time this season. So no undefeated teams. Nobody's going to threaten to break that 12-game win streak to start the season this year. There's no unbeatens in the league after week 2, which is why I say this season is starting off very competitive. I mean, no clear cuts, but yeah, so it was a good game. Anyways, key takeaways for the Havoc. So the Havoc spent a lot of time in their own zone over the weekend, and so they should be happy that they escaped the weekend with 2 points. And you could probably just thank that solid veteran core and some good goaltending for that. They're still 3-1, and they're in that tie for second place with half the league. Whatever, standings aren't really too important at the moment, but there's a few things that they need to address before they take on the Ice Flyers again and then head to Birmingham this week. Their special teams not off to a good start. Second worst power play in the league, and the penalty kill is only at a 44.4% success rate. Not too good. So special teams, that's the story in Huntsville this week. That's what they need to fix if I was the coach, but I'm not the coach, and their coach has championships and I don't. So who am I to say? Pensacola, they're another. They've only played 3 games. It's tough. It's tough whenever everybody else played 4 or 5, but they're sitting at 2-1, and the power play, another 50% conversion rate on the power play. Special teams are looking good. Penalty kill, you don't want to be at 50% on that, and that's where they're at on that. So they're going to have to get those numbers up. And Olnick, I think that's how you say it, Colton Olnick. He's been outstanding for the Ice Flyers to start this season out. It's kind of a breath of fresh air down there. I don't know if that's a stupid analogy. But anyways, he's been great down there. He's got 7 points in 3 games, 4 goals and 3 assists, and Pensacola is looking good in a league where a lot of people are looking good right now. And I'd say there's only a few teams that I am really worried about at the moment. And there was going to be 3, but I'd say right now the 2 teams that I think need to figure something out and turn things around, in my unexpert opinion, is we're looking at Evansville and Macon. They both got to make some changes. I think the Bobcats, after that victory, they're not in that category. I think that they just need to try to find a way to maintain. But Evansville and Macon right now, you gotta figure something out. And in Birmingham, they might be in that boat here pretty soon too, if they can't figure out how to score those goals. Did they use them all up on the first week? But that's it. We're running along. I've been jabbering on forever. Let's look ahead to this week's game. So Thursday night we got as I said before, Pensacola at Huntsville. So Huntsville is looking to maybe get a little bit of revenge, but Pensacola already got revenge because they were actually avenging their one loss. But that's Thursday night game. And then Friday, Pensacola will travel to Evansville for Friday and Saturday night. So after taking the weekend off, basically, well, not off, they playing 1 game, they're rewarded with a 3-game road trip up north. And Huntsville will go on to take Birmingham on in Birmingham this Saturday night. That is Birmingham's only game of the weekend. So here we go, beginning of the season. We got teams already slacking, but that ought to be a good one. Like I said, we just talked about that game, so it'll be interesting to see. And then guess who's playing? Guess who is playing each other? Fayetteville and Roanoke are playing. Can you believe it? It's going to be at Roanoke on Friday and then in Fayetteville on Sunday afternoon. So that one's going to be a great one. Fayetteville might be a team that needs to address a few things. I don't know. No, I'm not going to add them to that list. So Fayetteville and Roanoke, always good. So Sunday afternoon, don't watch football. It's boring. Watch hockey. Watch Fayetteville and Roanoke. It'll be worth it. Fayetteville will also play Macon on Saturday night at home against the Mayhem. And then Roanoke will play Knoxville on Saturday night. So those teams are both playing 3-3s. And then Macon will play Knoxville on Friday night. And so Macon's on the road all weekend. Knoxville's at home all weekend. And then guess who else is playing? Peoria and Quad City. Do you believe it? They are playing each other Friday and Saturday night. That's going to be an opening weekend rematch. I am ready for it. I want to see how it goes. Vermilion County doesn't play this week. Vermilion County has taken the entire week off, literally. So no Bobcats this week. That's about it. I have just been talking entirely too much, I feel. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I really hope you enjoyed the conversation with Taylor Pryce. Just remember, if you guys want to hear from somebody, let me know who you want to hear from. If you have questions that you'd like me to start asking people, that you're like, man, I really wish he'd ask this, hit me up in the comment section on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever you find this at. I read these things. If they're out there, there's not really a lot of comments to read, but I will read them. And like I've said before, you could tell me I'm an idiot and I'm doing everything wrong, or you can lie to me and tell me I'm doing great. It doesn't really much matter to me. I just want to know that you guys are out there and listening. And I want this show to be for you. I mean, I don't do this for me. I definitely hate the sound of my voice. So I do this to try to give you guys more content in a league that I feel is undercovered, but yeah, anyways. And like I said, make sure you are following us or following me on Twitter. I'm really screwing this up. At FPH Bulls. Follow me on Twitter. I haven't been that active on Twitter, I won't lie, but I'm going to try to get more active. But I'll try to start busting out the news as it comes out. But it seems like this year's a little bit different. As the news breaks publicly, it's the exact same time that I would be tweeting it out. And why would I send that out if you guys are already seeing it? But maybe you want to see me retweet it. Maybe you're not following every team in the league like I am, and it's dumb of me to assume that you are. On top of that, if you don't want to follow me on Twitter, which after I just gave you a million reasons not to, make sure though that you are liking and subscribing to our YouTube page. Leave us comments down there in the comment section. We got podcasts covering all the leagues, the AHL, the SPHL, the ECHL. That's not all the leagues, but that's 3 of the leagues. No NHL. We cover minor league hockey here. And no FPHL as of now. But we got content for you across everything. Just make sure you're downloading the Field Pass Hockey app. You can listen to games. You can listen to Evansville's, Knoxville's, Macon's, and Birmingham's games on the Field Pass Hockey app. And so you got that going for you if you want to use it as a little radio tuner. But anyways, that's enough. I really need to shut up. So thank you guys for listening. And I will get with you guys next week with another awesome guest. Until next time.
You've been listening to the Inside the SPHL podcast. Got a topic you'd like discussed? Follow James on Twitter at FPH Bulls. For the latest news on the SPHL and the rest of minor league hockey, download the Field Pass Hockey app, now available in the Apple and Android app stores.